Nyeba kunle dolishin yenden kunye genbambo semchen kunye nyen chikbo tamche kenla ngu janze omen joye yenge podane nusum sangye kunye ngogo ni rasem jogo ngosuma denzebe zebe lame shabla so wande laso tene tomar nyenden sensin nange number so samala ani someday dashidle shwe.
First of all, I would like to welcome all the participants. So Tashidilek, or welcome.
Tene ta capture bicheki tugong shison chene mansu jungyurki tundaki sanchu resa pemba la tene gyasab chambo kumbu ki song Gyud Lama tene loptichi chene yabutu sene rimbicheki kapyapa nashin chene ane ngansu lopti tene toyeki chashi chire.
So Kyabje Chukinima Rinpoche, with his great kindness and great compassion, has requested for us to organize these weekly classes. So each Saturday we will meet to study the text entitled as the Uttaratantra Shastra, of the highest continuum, composed by the Buddha Maitreya. So it is upon Rinpoche's request, therefore, that we have put together these teachings. And so we will meet then each Saturday.
Da yina yang di Gyud Lama di shung gyachim buchire dine ngansu tunda re la tengma re ma do tsinda tsuye ki koka me du chasang tengma chigla tsa tugi ma re dinde yinba songsa ani ngansu dusu dos yunubu ngor siba re ani tela teni da ngansu di liu dawa cheni doba ina ani le lawa yungre esne da tende sitoye ki chashi dawa chire.
However, the text, the Uttaratantra Shastra, is quite extensive. It's quite voluminous. And since we don't have opportunity but to meet only once a week, it might take quite some time to go through the whole text. So I was thinking to go through each chapter of the text.
Tene ngansu di lopti cheye de yang tsemba dawa episode dawa jik sueni dona ani le lawa yungre teni tende dawa jik jere tende indu ngansu tande chala episode tangpo dila teni jujar ki nangni tangpo sum sangye dang chu kindun sumbuti episode chiki nangla shaani ani dosma shuere.
Khenpo episode di lobdu japo. Zinja chik da marere.
Lobdu dawo.
Las. Di dava sumgi da chik natsu lobdu japo. Di jain sarere. Okay, I'm just clarifying the time span. So since the text is quite voluminous and extensive, I was thinking to separate it in terms of the chapters of the text and make it kind of like episodes, right? As a TV show has episodes, so we're also going to have this kind of episodes of the text. So let's say that the first episode, which, as I clarified with Khenpo, will be sort of equal. It will equal one semester, right? So semester which contains like 3 months. Let's say this is 3 months, it's one semester, this is one episode. And in this one episode, so to say, we will cover the first 3 topics of the text, which is the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Java Khenpo, teacher?
아니 디 인디타 디 단다 당보디 녜마 슈에제 아니 제마 디네 미트네 안데 용것도 아니 간수 게겐 심반 남바야 뒤스 수컴기도 간수 따긴 신이 아니 뒤스 동바술라도 따긴 전에 도스마드레인스.
So for now, with this first episode, this first semester, so to say, it will be me who will do my best to explain the treatise, but later on, to continue with the treatise, there could be other teachers. So we will see which Khenpo has more free time, and so we could, basically switch between different teachers. So please be aware of that.
Tene nganzu di ta Gyud Lama la tsawa dang dewa yang mangpo yore. Tene yina yang nganzu tsawe toni dosha na jingni duswe dang tsampo du. Tene nini nganzu ken naba le dangpo pa mangpo yosi bare. Ani le dangpo pa tinsu shungla lobjong jang du 정말 짜와 코랑 디 야보지니 enge batnangni tunda toto dawaji hago sabe chela shini and dewatin lobchong changbaina yaboyore mato tangbone dewa jachembo sigbaina dine tozo tunda di ruru se mato batawata cawa korangi tunda di karime lola mange batawo dine kange yobayindi 하는 안주 짜와 시샤체니 마 롭디체니 드레인스.
So the Uttara Tantra Shastra, which is the root text, has had many commentaries composed on it. So in this class, I will focus on the root text itself for basically 2 reasons. First reason is that, we don't have much time. So in order to match the time that we have here, I have to focus on the root text rather than on the very extensive commentary. And the second reason is that perhaps some of you or many of you, the participants, are quite new to the Dharma. And it is much better to first study the root text, right, to gain some confidence, understanding of the main subject matter of the root text, right, and then proceed to study a very detailed and extensive commentary. Otherwise, if you right away be new to the Dharma, start studying this very elaborate commentary, you might get a bit lost and not really understand sort of the pith of the matter, right? The main points, the main key points. You might get lost within so many different topics. So therefore, here I will focus primarily on the root text itself.
Tani sirdang gyagaki gyashung se dinsu cawa di tekar lo yongdu tozo ngo kabo yore. Karresina gyashung se di jidang rabu di ko sik nyunyung chik nangla donda mangbo chik go tuwe ke tapshi chini ngarang zo ina da chi code dawo formula dawo dende su sha so dawo chi re dende yin ba yin tu dangbo lobjong chang tu to zo ka bo dawo chi re te yin yang zawa korang la samlo ya bo tang ba ina yang chik re re la ani shida ki gowa lin ju yo ba tang samlo tang ju yo ba chi cha tu yang ko dowa min da ba chi re dende yin tu to zo ngan zo 통만이 깔레카보도 쓰니 람사 파 마샤바체니 또 준비 제바이나 아니 코랑게야 드몽 마인 베긴 도알 레베치레 디케침버리
The Uttaratantra Shastra, the highest continuum, is the Indian treatise. So when we study the root texts that were composed in India, it's really quite hard to understand when we right away start reading the root text, which was translated from Sanskrit. It's hard to understand because the Indian treatises have a tendency to decode quite profound meaning in a few words only. It's sort of like a code or a formula, as Khenpo said in English, right? They take a very deep meaning, but they condense it in just a few words, a few sentences. And so at first you might feel a bit discouraged that when you open the book and read it, you will like find it that it's quite hard to understand the meaning without using the commentary. However, I would like to encourage you not to give up, not to dismiss the studies, but rather be quite diligent with them, because when you study the root text, the words that were composed by the Buddha Maitreya himself, each word, while learning each word of the root text, you will find quite a special feeling or taste, right? When it comes to learning and studying the words of the root text, it's really a quite unique experience that is not really the same when you study the commentary. Yes, it's not easy. Yes, it's quite profound and difficult to understand at first, but if you will be diligent, you will definitely come to experience this really unique sensation.
데네 다 아주 Gyud Lama tsawa diyang injila gyur yore ke khashela debla yore ande nashin ki dewa dinzo yang kala kansam chi inji gyur tsawa re tindi du kenambe lok to gre tini ta ngaransu chidang ngaransu tini dewa mangbo yore ine yang 잠깐 공주름 비체긴 대화 되니 디 인질라 디르디 켄나바 로나 되니 메바름 비체긴 대화 안데단테 송기 되니 된주 자와디 실라샤 아니 되니 랑종디 대화 된수 로낭 바이나 아니 텐데 자베게 된다디 세버지 차그레 딩게도
The root text is translated into English. I think there are quite a few translations of the Uttaratantra Shastra. Also, some of the commentaries can be found in English and in other languages, perhaps. So you have access to reading the root text. And among the different commentaries, I would suggest to acquire well, at least those who can study in English, the commentary composed by Jamgon Control Rinpoche, entitled simply as Buddha Nature. And also there's another commentary, which is a short commentary on the Uttaratantra Shastra by Mipam Rinpoche. And I can put in the chat later the names. So if you do some self-study at home after this class, kind of looking at the root text that we study here on Saturday, and then on the side by yourself, study the commentary, let's say, of Jamgon Control or Mipam Rinpoche, I think those commentaries will clarify, elucidate the meaning of the root text. So that will be helpful, I believe.
Tene chidang anzu Ka-Nying me ke lukso la cheba ina Gyud Lama ti tawa tembe shung yinba songza tene tozo za chenpo ji zigi yore la shu sa di lama dawo tende kunduni shuye ke lukso yore kanchung manchung ke duni shugo yomare ani ken namba maung pala ta tandang azu lobjong dawo jangi yore tene juna maung pala ken namba zo su lama dawo dang yang tende ki chi su lokaza dang yi chi sa tende ki kumteni jungna ani chi dawo dang mena lung dawo jinlap tende shudu bayi na yang ten de ki su ki gyula gyudeshe nyingbu Maitreya dang tene dela mögu danan ke dang tende la jinlap ki senga tende yungbe ki kebar chumbo yore tingidu.
In the Kagyu and Nyingma schools of Tibetan Buddhism, the Uttaratantra Shastra is considered to be a very significant, very important treatise that demonstrates the Buddhist view, that highlights, let's say, the Buddhist view. And therefore, there is a tradition to receive instructions, teachings on the Uttaratantra Shastra from a qualified Lama or Guru, not just from anyone, but from qualified master. So here, in the context of the Saturday classes, we're kind of studying, let's say, the text. It's the context of studying. But I will encourage you later on to request the special PIF instructions, oral transmission, really pointing out instructions from your own teacher, from your own master, your guru. Because when your guru will give the PIF instructions on this text, it basically what will happen, the guru will point out, will demonstrate, will reveal to you your own Buddha nature, the Tathagata Garbha, through the blessing, right? Through your own devotion to your own master. So through in that kind of circumstance, it will be very potent. So I encourage you, therefore, to request those teachings, oral transmission. I believe it will make a great difference for you.
Dani ta ta nga tawa ina de nga zu lama ya mare la tinde ki kaya mare nga tawa ki machre tinde indi chidani nga Gyud Lama de la ji jangcha yo de tinde ya kaya mare ngara lobtu chire ngara ya di lobchong jangshim tinde chi ta ina ya kenamba 원라 계란주기 또주 럽종 장 다딕제 도서 하거나 되니 제마 수수 라마기 뚜니 모트든지 수용도 땡땡 개발 좀 보여래 원라 다딕제 샤주 미디기 똑바규르게 당 다딕자니 마체킹기 미니가기 라마지기 군드니 티직 슈바이나야 안데기 수수기 셈라 펜도 제중나 개발 좀 보여래 근데 임바인도 kenamba 직 다딕 다버지 낭토바디 까바 상버렐라 되네 ngarangi 당에 갸침보 쉬시에 가요 말에 nga라는 냠용된데 가요 말에 이내야 강토두지 던다 도르두지다 되네 식도스 강토두지 고데오지다 되네 게치쇼디 따지 아주 따르단 리바단 딘데단 찬네 마임바체니 또저지 수수 용서라 삼로 땅규 yoba chik dan dinde chik dini ngarang kanto tu chi shue ki bezun chik yins.
As for myself, Khenpo says, I'm not a qualified guru or a lama. I'm just a simple monk. I am a student myself. I'm still in the process of studying, of learning, right? I'm not a master. I'm just a disciple. But I still believe that it will be helpful to study this text with me because let's say that this will create a foundation. This will be kind of like a preparation for you, where in the future, when you receive the profound PIF instructions on this text from your own master, from your guru, it will make a big difference because you have already studied this text in this context of this class. I believe that if two different people come to a master guru, receive the PIF instructions, pointing out instructions based on the Uttara Tantra Shastra, where one person has previously studied and learned about this text and another didn't, I believe it will make a great difference in terms of their realization, how much they will really realize based on the pointing out of their own teacher. So right now we're sort of laying out that kind of ground, foundation, right, that will make a big difference for you in the future. Therefore, I still believe that this is a great opportunity and a fortune for all of us to be here together, even though I'm just again a simple monk. But I will do my best, right, trying to give you a very clear and succinct explanations based on not so much on logical, intellectual elaborations and reasoning, but more coming from experiential understanding of the matter. So this what I'm going to do, and again, will always try my best.
La so dini da nganzo dambi chu chingin che be kabre dinde yindu tongmar samlo to stani dini ni dinde ki chu niya di miyu di karichi du chigido sambe kunung la samlo di stang dini kisi miyu di tse digi che du redu na ande man chamsha dini zogo tarabadang tamji kimbe kopang tobala demba di tokugudu nelukdu tokugudu di tokbala lobjong changkugudu dinde yinba yindu ngi di dambi chwe di nyingi yu sambe tongmar nyechungi sambadang chanchubgi semdang tembe koni dambi chwe sembar shus.
Whenever we study the Buddha Dharma, first of all, it's really important to take a moment and reflect, why am I here? What is my motivation? What is my intention for attending this class? Just spend a moment reflecting on your reasons for being here. And if you notice that your motivation has very much to do with this life, with concerns for this life only, then please stop and try to transform it by thinking that in order to achieve liberation and the state of Buddhahood, that's the state of omniscience, you need to realize the truth, how things truly are, the natural state of all phenomena. And that's the reason why you have come to this class. So your motivation should be that of renunciation and the mind of awakening, bodhicitta. So having generated renunciation and bodhicitta, please in that spirit listen to the teachings.
Tene ta diring di anzu shungi ngondo dawo ki tsudula nge ta shung digi ngote su dawo chi tordu ji shugi ins thongmala.
I will start by giving a brief introduction to the treatise itself.
Tene da chidang shung di ke gyabchung gi logyu kande yimen tang ande chik che ani nipa de la shung de ge nang la jocha tso di kare tun yemen se di dang ni tene sumba di shung de la da twesam jebam shung de la chubi ki goba dinzo pendo dinzo kare yore se di da dinzo ko la nga dunzen sum rabu ji ki toni ma shugi.
I will divide my introduction into the three aspects, 3 points. First of all, I will relate a story, a history of this text, how it was composed, how it came to be. The second aspect will be an explanation of the main subject matter of the text. So what is it about? What's the main topic? And lastly, the third aspect of the introduction will be the reasons for us studying the text. What is the benefit that will ensue from us taking up the study of this treatise?
Ta thomar tenju Gyud Lama degi gyabzhong ki logyu ji shu na tene chirdang Gyud Lama di ngaransu kalba sangbo la sangye tong zanyi yobe nangne namden ngapa sene maungba la chunggyur ki sangye dada chanchu sembe ki tsuldu gading ki nesu la shu yobe tene shaketu be ki gyalsab du kyo be ki gyalsab kong tene kongri ki nyamling ki tso di jamba nangi yoba songza tene sen la gyalsab jamba gombo shugun kongki tene sung nangbe ngaranzu yongda la jamshu de nga sini yobe nangni tenju chik cha digi yore Gyud Lama di.
So let's start with the first part of the introduction, the supporting story or history of this treatise. Right now, we all find ourselves in the excellent Aeon, excellent Kalpa, where 1002 Buddhas will come. Among these 1002 Buddhas, the fifth Buddha, known as the Buddha Maitreya, right now resides in the Tushita heaven in a form of a bodhisattva. He is the regent or future Buddha who will come after the Buddha Shakyamuni, known by the name Maitreya, which reflects his main practice. Because the main practice of the Buddha Maitreya is that of loving kindness, love and compassion. And so love in Sanskrit is mighty, and that's why Maitreya, his name is Maitreya. So the Buddha Maitreya has composed 5 treatises, widely known as the 5 treatises of the Buddha Maitreya. So the Uttaratantra Shastra in Tibetan, known as the Gyud Lama, is one of those 5 treatises.
chidang anzu namtar sidi nyendu aranzu mang chewe ki semgi nangla to zoji namtar se dik nangla mi maimbe ki latang tinde ki tang anzu ina chusul mangpuchi yongre tinde yongdu tinde lamsang susu semgi nangla kande inam samba ka samsuji ranzu shasangla yongre di tumongre didu lamsang samlo di kante tangore sena pena ngarang ki sheche jigden kam katsu yore gari tukire gari sikire sigi mare se di ngarang tsu ki semgi shashabe ki tsejigre dinde yinba yindu ngansu ki semgi nyupa dang tse shese di shira ki pena chuki tikpa dabuchire sanje dang chanchu sembe ki zeba dang namdar se di gyaso nashinchire dinde yinba yindu namdar ki tenda di ngarang ki wangbe dang shebe ki ha mago wa tsamji gyunsen de cheni dopa sakwe kaya yo mare ngarang su ki shese di tse di shira ki chung jirela sangi ki kenzi nusum dang zabatinde sayadi ha lebe ki dilin deba jir cha digi yo ba indi tenzula nganzu dopa tesum je kwe kyone yo mare
Whenever it comes to liberation stories of great masters known as Namtar in Tibetan, kind of like hagiography, right? It's biography of great masters. Whenever we read or study those liberation stories, we tend to feel like what is depicted in them is really kind of quite miraculous, sort of pertaining more to the God realm rather than something that humans like us can do or relate to. And so our minds therefore tend to doubt, really? Is that possible? What's described in the bibliography of this great enlightened master? Those kind of doubts are quite common, really, for all of us. But in that moment, we need to think, like, for example, how much of what can be known in this world, how much of that I can really understand? Of all the various topics that can be learned, studied, how much does my mind really understand? How much can I conceive of personally? And we can see that our understanding is quite limited, right? The capacity of our mind to really understand, relate, conceive of everything what's happening in this world is really limited. It's like a drop of water. And when it comes to the namtars, these liberation hagiographies, they're like an ocean, right? So our mind is like this drop of water, and this namtar is like an ocean. So, of course, my mind, my faculties, my acumen, my intelligence is not enough to really fully understand, right, what is described there. But just because I don't understand it, that's not a reason for me to doubt it. There's so many things we don't understand, but it doesn't mean they are not happening or they don't take place, right? So there's really no reason for us to doubt, because what's described in this liberation stories is something that's really inconceivable. It pertains to the Buddha's, Bodhisattva's wisdom, love, power, their enlightened activities. which are so amazing and way beyond our rational minds, what our rational minds can really relate to. So therefore, I would request you to sort of drop this tendency to doubt and wonder, is it really true or not?
Chirdan samji mikyapa se ki kola mangbo yungre. Tanga zu di shung na la mangbo yungre. Di tsik dala shira ki nyuba chumba chere. Tene ngana zu le dangbo pala samji mikyapa di samji mikyapa yimba la yishi ke matub na yang ngarang ki sampe ki makyapa resha se ki tsik de hako na dik dik yore. Lokda makye na dik dik yore. Di indu pepa ki tsik sam ki mikyapa se dila nyuba chumba shira yore. Nganzu samji mikyape kor mangbochi yungre da di shungni mala tekwa chumba shungra ba. Tendesini lebi yongdu samji mikyapa se di tendechi resha sini ngarangi tata tok matub na yang ngarangi sambe makyapa resha sini susu sambe makyapa tsedi hagoni ani dus shashawa ina ngarangi ta tok togu mindukde ina yang di mato ye di niluk dinde maimbe gyumsendu cheba maimba ngarangi tade shise di susu kibu ki shise tsedang tenpa yinba songsa to matuba resha sinin te tsamchi ngoto na dik dik yore. Lokda ma gini. Di nga zu je tukure sambo tangpa ina. Di indu bebe ki tsik samgi mikyapa sejduwa kirangi sambe ki tila kyap tuku mare se tila shiragi nipa chumbochi yore la di ge chumbochi yungre sanyi di wo ni mala ta joja nala samgi mikyapa se di mangbochi yungre.
This text, which belongs to the Mahayana or the great vehicle, has a lot of vocabulary, terminologies such as inconceivable, right? What we translate in English as inconceivable, something that's beyond our understanding. Yes, we can say beyond our understanding, inconceivable. This term in Tibetan Samgi Mikyapa is a really powerful term, because what it points out to us beginners is that, it's not the case, well, us not understanding what's described in this text is not the case of that being untrue, right? Or something being not real, like, oh, that's because it's just simply false, that's why I don't get it. That's not the case. This term inconceivable exactly points out that the subject matter is way beyond our ability to conceive of something, our ability to understand it. And so if we just understand that, right, that, oh, this is just beyond my abilities, this is beyond, like, I have my limit to my logic, limit to my intelligence, limit to my understanding, and that's why I don't understand, that's why it's inconceivable. If we just leave it there, it's okay. What's really important is not to give rise to wrong view, thinking, oh, yeah, well, I don't get it, so it must mean that this is just false or not true. This is not how things truly are. So we shouldn't take our limited abilities being descriptive of how things truly are. Rather, we should just acknowledge that that points out to our own limitations, our own limited abilities. And this really, well described by this term in Tibetan, Samki Mikyapa, beyond our understanding, or inconceivable, right? So it's inconceivable, so don't worry, right? Don't give rise to wrong view or doubts. So this term will come a lot in the following chapters. So whenever you see this inconceivable, that inconceivable, please right away remember what it points out, right? To our own inability to conceive of something because it's way beyond our own understanding.
Chidang anzu nangchu nyamlin chi yongdu samjin bikya pares ni sikdi lab yongdu ta samlo tangju kaya yo mare yuksha gore sebe tunda tsani mare anzu nangba la kari ichi chigirisana samgi mikya bi dundi samlo mangbo chik tangni ani dila tangbo gowa chikigires ani dila yang tini samlo mituni tangba ni nyongwa chikigires tini samlo mangbo chik tangwa ina tokwa ki yungire sungbare tini samgi mikya bi dundi samlo mangbo chik tangni tini tardu samgi kyaba tang mikyaba niga le tabe tali debe ki tundaji nganzu totu gire sini dindesi yishi chigi yore di indu samgi mikyaba re sidu yang chita samlo kyuni tangma tang pendo yosa mare si dinde yang lamsan samjo chigi yo mare la dinde tunda yang mare di toli nye gore.
So whenever we practice or study and we come across this term, inconceivable, beyond our understanding, this is not an instruction for us to therefore to not think about it, about that topic, and just forget about it. Well, it's inconceivable. Why to bother, right? What use is there to think about it since it's beyond my understanding? This is really not correct. This is not the instruction. Actually, we should think a lot, reflect a lot about the meaning of this inconceivability. What is inconceivable? What is inconceivable, right? Whatever this word describes. Think a lot. Inconceivable, why and how. And the more you reflect on that topic, which is inconceivable, the more you will, first of all, get intellectual understanding. You'll have a really good, sound understanding. But if you don't stop there and you keep pondering over what is that's described as inconceivable, you will gain a taste. You will experience a flavor of that what's inconceivable. And then if you continue really putting that into your own practice, your experience, you will get a quite stable realization. So this is actually the instruction for us. Whenever we come across something being inconceivable, we shouldn't just think, oh, it just means it's useless for us to even think about it. Actually, it's the opposite. We should keep reflecting, keep thinking, and so that eventually we will get trust that we will be able to realize the true meaning, which lies beyond something being conceivable or inconceivable. Maybe I should repeat that. The more we reflect, we will get the trust that we will be able to eventually come to realize that profound meaning which itself lies beyond being conceivable or inconceivable. Yes, that's what's going to happen. Please trust.
Te indu samji mikyaba re sidu lamsan mikse gi tsundu jeni samlo maa tangku gre.
When the topic, the subject matter described as being inconceivable, this is an instruction for us to even think more about it, putting forth more effort to understand it, not the opposite.
Tangi di karijini shuyin sena Gyud Lama di tekwa chenpo ki shung re la teni de nang la namtar tang, shirja tang, 대단 대신기 상계기 연된 대단 대신기 ngaranso ki semgi yönden di mangbo chi deshe kyab yongdu ngaranso tenden chi samji mi kyaba yimbe yinsul mangbo chi sung yongre dinde yongdu ani tongmar ni dus samlo tang tu bayina ngazu dadik chi yabu chagire tens teaching issue bayin.
So the reason for me really explaining this, giving you this instruction on how to relate to this term inconceivable is that since this text belongs to the Mahayana great vehicle, really everything that's described in this, portrayed in this text, first is Namtar, right, the liberation story, then the main subject matter of the text, the Buddha's qualities, the qualities of our own mind, all of that will be described by term inconceivable. All of that, the main topic, the qualities of Buddha, our qualities, all of that will be said to be inconceivable. So therefore, I wanted to spend a moment, first of all, to tell you how to relate to it and what to do when you come across this term inconceivable.
Tene 당에 당기 슝디기 겹종기 로기디 시비캅레 다 지단 슝디 세바보디 제준 잠군기 제 아니 제준 잠군기 레변 파파 토멘라 숭 테니 미율도 다 용다 다르버 제켄다 테니 슝디기 술 뜨킨 라보디 파파 토멘 차디기 여바인디 갑갑라 잠추스니 랍용디 야삽 잠바 공부기 천용그래라 양 갑갑라 안주 잠추스니 랍디 파파 토메기 천용그래.
So going back to our introduction, the first part of the introduction is to do with the story of how this text came to be. So the author of the Uttaratantra Shastra is the Buddha, the Lord Maitreya. But the one who spread the teachings in this human realm is Asanga. Therefore, sometimes you will come across this phrase that the 5 treatises were composed by Maitreya Buddha, and sometimes in some other context you will actually see that it says that the 5 treatises were composed by Asanga. So this is because even though the author is the Maitreya Buddha, the one who propagated these teachings in human world is Asanga.
다디 되게 중단기 로규디 아주 땡주되게 슝고랑기 센단자니 슈긴 만주 땡주되게 센라 가리스거를 슈거였으나 택바침부 규라메 땡주스니 된다 숨다버지 숨여래 택바침부 세직당 Gyud Lama says it down, Tini, danger says.
Now, the story, we can say the historical account of this treatise, I would love to explain in relation to the explanation of the title of this treatise. So I'll combine the explanation of the title with the historical account of this treatise. So the title of the text itself consists of 3 parts. It says the Mahayana Treatise Uttaratantra Shastra. Oh, this is Sanskrit, so let me say the great vehicle treatise, the treatise of the great vehicle, the highest continuum. So you can see there are 3 parts. The great vehicle, or Mahayana, is one part. The word treatise, that's another part. And this highest continuum in Sanskrit, Uttaratantra, that's the 3rd part of the title.
Tene da di peche shung dizu na la tende sung sha bada mindu da ngarang ge chik thonang da wa jingi shu ge wa ngarang ge samsu da re da di nang ni dangbo di tekwa chenpo se ji yung ge re dangbo de la wa nga di dan tel thoni dini loben thome ge namda dingi shu gi.
So now I will share my own personal understanding, so something you will not find in the texts per se. So let's look at the title. First, in Tibetan, the first part of the title is the Mahayana, or great vehicle. That's the first part of the title. And therefore, now we'll explain, actually, I will relate to you Asanga's life story in relation to this first part of the title, which is the great vehicle, or the Mahayana.
Jidang tekpa chenpo se du tekpa se na dordu na ko dewa china lam la se gyo re sanje ki kopang tarba tobe ki tapshe tang lam de la tekpa se gyo re teni dat lam la mangbo yobe na ni teni tekpa chenpo la ko mikpa chenpo yinba tang ko zundri chenpo yinba tang teni kogi drupa denzu chenpo yinba tang teni kogi yeshe dang dribu la sokpa denzu tumong ma yinba chi kola yoba songza ani dela chenpo sini labare sini namgyu nganzu tekpa chenpo se dela chewa mangpo chi denpa gyumsen la teni chenpo labare sini dede sini sheso yore.
So, great vehicle. The term vehicle simply refers to the path or the skillful methods, say the path that leads us to a state of a Buddha or liberation. So now, among many paths, here we specifically deal with the great one. The term great here indicates that there are quite different points of greatness of this specific path, great significance of this path. That's why we call it great. So what is so significant about it, what's great about this specific path, is that it has great focus, great diligence, great accomplishment, great wisdom, great fruition. So all those points of reference point, diligence, accomplishments, wisdom, fruition, they are all uncommon, unshared by any other paths. And that's why we call this specific path to be the great one, because all of those different points of greatness that I just mentioned. That's how we generally describe the Mahayana, or this is one of the ways how we describe the great vehicle.
Teni dati nganzu tangbo tekwa chenpo ki chewa chik di kar res na mikpa se na samlo tangda miyu ke tang tila segyo re di chenpo res kanda res na teni chik lega je yongdu nekap sagyu tungyu gongyu tende ki che to la samlo tang ni je shaba mayimba serap che jema tang teni 다 타르바당 탐지kimbe 고방기 토베 체들라 믹니 제샤바이나 델라 믹바침보 세거레 내가 나신드니 내가 체중 가리제바이나야 나짬 직당 녜세 직당 나초세 직 근데 삼바짬지 마임바체니 랑 대화 되바당 둥알 미되바디 semchen tamchi chiksung yinba yindu 탐지기 체둘라 지기 인 지기 여 삼베기 랑드 dorni ani chi thamje gi chedula mingnen che shaba dende ki samba ko dila kare se gi resuna mikpa chimbo sini se gi re.
Let's look at the first of these different points of greatness, the great focus. In other words, we can say mindset, great focus. Why great objective, even we can actually translate this term as objective, because what's our objective when we involved in the Mahayana is whatever we don't do it for the sake of getting some more food or clothing or shelter, right? Whatever we do it for the sake of next lives, and specifically achieving liberation and a state of omniscience in the next life. So our focus, our objective, now going to this term, is on the next lives, on liberation, on omniscience. Another way to understand this great focus is that we don't focus just on oneself, like I or me or even we as some kind of group of people. Here we open our minds to the fact that just like I myself do not want to suffer, just like I myself want to be well and happy, every single being has the same wish. So we all share this fundamental predicament of wanting to be happy and not to suffer. So why am I going to then have this objective, right, of just for myself, focus only on myself? I shouldn't. We give up, therefore, our selfish agenda preoccupation with our own lives and open our hearts, expand our minds to include all sentient beings. That's why it's great focus or great objective.
Tadi loben tome ki namdar da delni samlotana kande yoresena mama jagala sangye 준 택과 치수라 택과 첨복이 최 달니더니 택과 첨복이 최디시라 냠바레 숭바레 덴데 지기 갑라 게롱마 지기 택과 첨복이 최디 심진 탐지기 펜데기 시자 임바다 디 냠송바이나 아니 시라기 빼 방보지레샤 스니 모랑기 태바 첨부 줄라 시라기 짜 첨보단 지 첨보지 삼로코 바래 되니 다 태바 첨부기 추디 냠나 디기민도 탑시 강라지 지니 네 냠바디야 소와 지기 인세니 되니 공개 도스 다 태바 첨부 최디야 라르소 나이기 랭군라 슈바레.
Let's now connect it to the life story of Asanga. So, the master Asanga was born as the son of the former nun who saw that the Dharma of the great vehicle, the one that's the only source of all the happiness and benefits for sentient beings, has been in decline. So she saw that Dharma is actually in severe decline. And in order to restore the Mahayana teachings, right, she took that responsibility upon herself. Let's retranslate it. She decided to restore the Dharma of the Mahayana, right? She kind of took that responsibility upon herself.
다 되니 공기 태바 첨부기 최디 라르소 야고 영외 체들라 나랑 부구지께 부구들라 최그 럽종 야고지 때 아니 최근 로종 야보지 때베 토니 아니 상기기 템발란 자와 지투비기 부구지 수니 네 태과 첨부기 최대 라르스 난기 인스니 아니 콩라 아 부구 니 중월에 아니 부구 니들라 지기센라 로벤 토메암 아상가당 아니 지기센라 로벤 바수반도암 잉인스니다 가나수 태과 첨부 라 용라기 로벤 짜침분이부디 콘다마니 차바레.
So she took that upon herself to revive the Mahayana Dharma. And in order to do so, she decided to disrobe and give birth to children that she thought that she will educate them well so that they can take up the study of the Mahayana and then revive the teachings, benefit the teachings. And so she did that. She actually birthed two sons, right, that would become two great masters. One of them is the master Asanga, and another of her sons is the master Vasubandhu, and both have become quite renowned teachers of the Mahayana.
다디 가르레스나 아주 태과 첨부기 냠렌 나니 단징이 쉐버나시 미과 첨부 세디 냠렌 독스 남겨요래 가르레스나 나랑 사유 통주 고기도 스네 선로 마당 바시니 심진 탐제기 아니 대화기 된둘라 최디 고기도 섬네 섬로 야좀 못당 바래 니바디 땅 나랑 아니지래 땅 아니로나 되게 말해 나 디박하기래 나 찍차기래세 켜니 섬로 마당 바제니 랑 제징기 삼바 다 상계기 템바당 칠레 팽기여나 나랑 가르쳐나 차 개바면도 삼비 덴데기 셈띵니 랑 제징기 로디 도니 타직도 대양되니 부구스 럽종 때 첨버차스도 아주 덴데 삼로타에 가보러와 내가 마도 덴데 윤릉부 시부지 디인디 미과 첨보세 냠린제도다 덴데스 냠린제기요레스니 되게 아주 배선다고 지디디래.
So relating then this to the first of the Mahayana greatnesses, remember the first greatness, that of the focus or objective. You can see from the life story of this nun that she was not thinking only like, oh, what do I need in this life? Oh, I need just to remain a nun, just to have enough of food and drinks, and that will be good, yeah, good enough for my life. That will do. No, she didn't think like that. She thought about what can I do for the sake of happiness of all sentient beings, right? What can I do for all of them? And she saw that they all need the Dharma of the Mahayana. So she was therefore having this great objective, that great focus of her life. The purpose of her life was not evolved around her own well-being, but around well-being of all beings. The second point, we can see that she wasn't thinking like, oh, if I disrobe, because she was a nun, former nun, oh, I will commit a downfall, right? This is a non-virtue, according to the Buddha Dharma. What will happen to me if I have this kind of downfall? Like, she was not worried about that at all, because she knew that if that's going to help so many beings, right, then she kind of thought like, who cares what will happen to me, basically, even if I will somehow commit the downfall by disrobing, it doesn't matter if at the end that's going to benefit multiple sentient beings. So she completely gave up this kind of self-cherishing attitude of thinking that, well, she is the most important, what happens to her is the most important, and rather had this very far-reaching focus, right? She planned this all ahead, giving birth, educating them, teaching them the Mahayana so that they can practice and benefit many beings. It's a really far-reaching focus. That's why we mean it's a great focus.
Tene lobe tome tanda di chidang temba nyangen le tene log gugya ki nangla loben tome chungwa yin sini sungu yore. Tene tekwa chenpo ki chue di tene ngoma ulatar chisu tene tanda pa Pakistan da di chola pa shu chenpo daware. Tene indi loben tome ki tungsa tiyang tanda Pakistan cho ki tene Peshawar se diwala tene tungdeba chidang kong namba shusaya mancheba di chola chati yore.
Bishivar, Sachiki mean
Peshawar se dwa Pakistan chola re Jakarta kunzu sansam chodeba.
the master Asanga was born around 900 years after the Buddha's passing into parinirvana. By that point, the Mahayana has already spread in the human realm, right? And especially it spread a lot in the area of now what is known as the Pakistan, right? Kashmir, Pakistan, northern India. So that's where Asanga was born, actually, and he spent most of his life there in Pakistan, especially like the place known as Peshawar.
Tene loben tome tung tekwa chenpo ki lame kumduni lobjon chang tene chidang ingin tang tome nyebe nani ingin de tangpo tekwa memba la lobjon nangbare jesu tene loben tome ki jesu shugni konya tekwa chenpo nyamlen nangay chichungbare kantar tene keba chenpo chabare kerub nidengi tene tekwa chenpo ki chwe la kerub niden yengin ki lobenji chabare.
So after the Asanga was born, he studied the teachings of the Great Vehicle. Actually, Vasubandhu, his other brother, first was not following the Mahayana teachings. He was more concerned with the fundamental vehicle. But later on, he also changed his affiliation and became involved with the Mahayana teachings. But first, Vasubandhu was with the fundamental vehicle, whereas Sangha was, right away benefiting the Mahayana teachings because he has become a great scholar practitioner. So in this way, he was able to benefit the Mahayana.
Tene lobe tome da nyamlin na yombe kapsula sanje ki sung shirchin ki tunda tenzu toye kale kabo yinba yindu tene kongi da ngarang rang ki lobjong jangba tsamche ki niluk tokse de kale kabo yin redu jeza ngarang ki wang shu lakbi lajik tenne ani nyamlin cheba ina tende neluk tokwala pendo chumbo yungudu kongni dine kongi jezun jamba kombo dubare.
So what Asanga studied and practiced was the teachings of the Buddha known as the Prajna Paramita, right? The transcendental perfection of wisdom, which is really difficult to understand, difficult to realize. So he thought that just by studying the Prajna Paramita, I will not, or it will be difficult for me to realize the natural state of all phenomena. So rather than just studying, Asanga thought, it's good if I receive an empowerment, and then by practicing my superior deity, through that, I'm going to come to realize the natural state, nature, the reality of all phenomena. So thinking like that, then that's what he actually proceeded to do, receive that empowerment and practice the deity yoga.
Tene loben tome ki jezun jamba kombo labi lala teni lo juni gi partula duba nangwares.
Asanga spent 12 years practicing the yoga of his superior deity, which was Buddha Maitreya. That was the deity of Asanga.
Ta degi chikdi nganzu kare hakoko resena. Tekwa chimbo ki chudi nyamlin che yongdu kechu chikdi kare resena tap kyache waas eti. Kare resena ladang teni tab shimba kaanla ya nga ten kukume nga rang samlo tani sang jigi intina yongya yo mare shira kare khakore lakwar do nga rang su namkyu sunam ki chotan yishe ki chok segre teni jaki shubha iyon na shinchen sungbare dinde indu loben thongme shira ki keba chenpo jire de inayang tatung nga rang ki samlo tani nilu toki yinsine nga gyal maje bache ne nilu tokwa la ngebar du sunam ki chok sa kogudu lakwi lat ting kogudu tab deda la maten na ani susu ki samlo tangba tang rikpa tangba tsamji ki nilu toku mare se digi namthar dine nga zulo ngodo chebare digidu di kar re sana dine tab la kepa sana tekwa chenpo lam ki kecho nana kecho ke chenpo jire.
What we can decipher, let's say, what we can understand from this part of Asanga's life story is that the great vehicle is abundant with skillful means. It has really vast methods, abundance of methods. Because you see, Asanga by that point was already a great scholar. He studied a lot, he was very, very learned, but he didn't think, oh, in order to understand the natural state of all phenomena, I don't need to rely on anyone or anything. Right? He thought that it's not enough to just rely on myself and my own reasoning, my own knowledge. I need to rely on this deity yoga, on the practice of a deity. So actually, in the Mahayana, it's not possible to achieve enlightenment not by not relying on anyone or anything, just by kind of sitting alone in the room, studying a lot, and then through one's own reasoning coming to see the natural state. As it is said, we need two gatherings, two accumulations. We need to accumulate merit and we need to accumulate wisdom. That's like the two wings of a bird, and we need both wings. So it's not enough to just be a great scholar and that's alone kind of will suffice. One's own reasoning, one's own logical argumentations will bring one to the state of enlightenment. That's not the case, and Asanga knew that. He was not proud or arrogant in that way. He understood that what he needs merit. He needs to accumulate merit by practicing the deity yoga, by relying on his deity. So that's what we can learn from this part of his life story.
Tene nadela nganzo tekwa chimbo ki kecho nani tabla kepa chimbo sina peje dus koalin chogre tingidu.
So through then this part of his life story, we can then relate to another aspect of greatness of the great vehicle. That's the vast skillful means. Or at least that's how I personally, Khenpo says, connect these two. Again, remember Khenpo said this is his own understanding. This is not something you can find in the treatises. So that's how we can relate these two.
Tene da din nani tsuwu chik di kare nganzo hako tugre sina tekwa chimbo ki nyamlen kapsula myoku dang depa dang se di ke chimbo re se chi nganzo samlo tang chogre tingidu kare re sina jezuin chamba kumbo dubni jezuin chamba kumbo ki jinlap thopni rangyu la tokpa ke kukudu sambi sambati myoku dang depa dang dewa ye dewa chire dende yinba yindu nganzu ta Ka-Nying ma kapsula yang myoku dang jinlap di mena ani rangyu la tokwa kigi mare dini jinlapdi rangyula powar chebala debadang mögu yabu kogre se diang dini nga zu sambatang chogre tingidu.
What else we can learn from Asanga's life story is that one extremely crucial point in the Mahayana is the necessity of devotion, faith, trust. Really, that's so important. In order to achieve any accomplishments in the context of the Mahayana, we need to receive blessing. And it is through blessing that we will come to realize the natural state of phenomena. And for the blessing, we absolutely need faith and devotion. So realization really relates to faith and devotion. Especially we can see that in the Kagyu and Nyingma schools of Tibetan Buddhism, where it is said that without blessing, there is no realization. And in order for the blessing to enter our hearts, what we need to have faith and devotion. So another important point that we can learn here.
Laso ta dortuna tringe nganzu Gyud Lama ki tsenla tekwa chenpo se yobati Gyud Lama ki tini jungrap lepen tome ki namdala sikwa ina tekwa chenpo ki kechu tinzu namdar ki nangni ngaransu lobchongchang chogre tekwa chenpo ki chu di nyamlin chena tindes nyamlin chegu gre sini ngaransu la lamdun cheba dawaji 차 되게 레세 신나는 다 저디 mikpa chenpo sayadi tang tabla keba chenpo sayadi ani tende chigla sigi yore sini nge shubayin.
In short, what we have learned today in this class is that, well, we looked at the title of the treatise, right, consisting of 3 parts. So we start looking at the first part of the title, that's the Mahayana, Great Vehicle. And in order to understand the qualities, the specific qualities of the Mahayana, we looked at the Asanga's liberation story. His, you can say, bibliography, hagiography. So it's through looking at the Asanga's life story, we also understood these qualities of the Mahayana, which is part of the title of the text, right? That's how it's all connected. And not only that, it's not enough to just understand, all right, there is this great focus in the Mahayana, there is this abundance of skillful means, but actually, this is something for us to take to heart, to make it personal. We can understand that by looking at the life story of Asanga, by learning about the greatness of Mahayana, we kind of shown the path, how we can achieve those things, right? This is the instruction that can be taken directly in our own lives. It shows us that we also need to develop this great objective, great focus. We also need to rely on this great, vast, skillful means. So that's what we have looked at in today's class.
Laso, dani nga tiringi sinda dela tsamshagi, dani chujadi nga tundajima mituni shugi.
So we'll stop here for today, and we will continue with this introduction and the main subject matter of the text in the following classes.
Janjo semjo rinpoche mage banam ge gyureje geba nyamba mebarayang gone gondo pelabare sho